that because I needed people's validation so badly to just feel like a whole person, that often I would put people on a much higher pedestal than what they actually were worthy of being on. And I would forget about my own value. Hello, everyone. I'm Charlita. If you're new, welcome. And if you're returning, welcome back. So I wanted to talk about this topic because for me, once I decentered everyone and stopped seeking validation, it has just been a complete game changer. So those of you that know my background, because I have discussed this in previous videos, I grew up in a very religious, strict background. And I'm not saying that every single person that grew up in a religious home that they may have struggled with this. But for me, my experience has been that I was kind of conditioned to seek the approval and validation of others. And I found that a lot of times for me, that because I needed people's validation so badly to just feel like a whole person, that often I would put people on a much higher pedestal than what they actually were worthy of being on. And I would forget about my own value because I was so busy focused on seeking their approval and their validation that I lost the value that I saw in myself. And a matter of fact, it actually caused me to not see myself as a person that had any value. And it's kind of like, I don't know if those of you that are familiar, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Grey's Anatomy, but there was a scene, and I'm speaking of the earlier cast of Grey's Anatomy, when Christine and Meredith were talking, and I think it was when Christine was getting ready to leave the hospital. And I think she told Meredith something like, he may be Mr. McDreamy, but you are the son. And if I can find that clip, I will insert it in here.
You are a gifted surgeon with an extraordinary mind. Don't let what he wants eclipse what you need. He's very dreamy, but he is not the son. You are.
And I think that basically that's kind of like what happens to us. We put someone else on such a high pedestal that we actually forget our own value and we kind of make ourselves small. But once you decenter people and you are no longer seeking that validation from someone else, it just changes everything. It just changes your whole entire motivation for doing certain things. And for me personally, I did not realize just how much time and effort I spend worrying about what someone else thought of the decisions that I made, or just everything that I did was just centered around what other people thought of me. And when you walk into a room or a new space, people can sense that energy that you are seeking validation. But when you walk into a room and you could care less what anybody says or does, you will notice that you will attract different types of people into your life. I, in the past, would attract a lot of toxic people, or just people that just wanted to use you, or just attract broken people that were not whole. But once you are whole yourself and you do not need somebody else's validation or approval to feel worthy, because you see yourself as enough and you are a whole person, and it is the most freeing experience ever. And for me, I just feel like I'm just going to be just okay. And that's kind of like once you just have lost that attachment. And there's a saying, I think, that it says the attachments are the root of all human suffering. And I believe that, because when you are just constantly worrying about people, and when you approach situations and you are just expecting a certain outcome, or you're looking for a certain outcome, or hoping for a certain outcome, when that outcome doesn't happen, you get disappointed, and then you get into this loop of overanalyzing it. But when you just decenter that, and you no longer have any attachments, and you are no longer thinking about any particular person, or thinking about people in general and what they will think of you, it just frees up that space for you to be yourself, and for you to enjoy the experience. So remember, life has always been meant to be lived, not to be overanalyzed. So I hope this was helpful. Just remember that you are enough, and you are the sun.